Our next article comes from the Times-Standard. It's about Kathleen Bryson, who is a local attorney. She's worked in the DA's office and is now running to go against Paul Gallegos and try and take his spot for DA. Really don't know much about her stance on things locally. We'll have to see how this comes out and over the next few months as it gets closer to election time.
Maybe we can get an interview.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
In other news, 11 people have died at the hands of others in Humboldt County in 2009.
Man.
This is the highest number of homicides in recent history. Another story we have for you today is from the North Coast Journal, also written by Ryan Burns, entitled "The Plane That Wasn't There." In the story, it illustrates a March 1st incident where two men who sought to visit the Redwood Forest here were approaching the Arcata Eureka Airport when their plane disappeared from radar during its approach. Seattle-based air traffic control notified the Humboldt County Airport manager, Jacqueline Hulsey, who mistakenly said that the plane had safely landed when in fact it had crashed 6.5 miles out from the airport. This delayed rescue efforts by 12 hours. The National Transportation Safety Board has yet to issue a report which will outline the accident's probable cause. The family has never received an explanation nor an apology for this mistake. What's interesting about this story is it generally is it illustrates that these bureaucracies that exist to keep us secure and safe and rescue us from danger are so completely disjointed through this bureaucracy that we are in fact not safe, any safer with their existence.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to call. You know, maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they now don't want to come out because it's a matter of pride. But I would think there would at least be an apology to the family.
Yeah, and Miss Hulsey still hasn't commented on the matter.
Well, in our last piece of local news here, county officials, the Humboldt County Board of Supervisors, are going to be looking at adopting guidelines similar to those of the ones in Arcata concerning marijuana growing and the uses of 215 licenses. So that can be looked forward to in the future, and we'll be covering that more.
And with that story, actually, is a great segue into our first state news article, and it is entitled "Obama Entrapped Me" by Dave Moss from San Diego City Beat. The story is about James Dean Stacy. He is a collective owner in San Diego and was the target of one of 14 federally guided raids, and one of only 2 which are subject to federal charges. Stacy's wife wouldn't let him plead guilty to something that he didn't do wrong, and as his defense he is taking entrapment as a landmark defense, and saying that the raids violated California's 10th Amendment rights by enlisting San Diego County sheriffs to enforce federal laws. Stacy, who conferred with a lawyer and did everything by the book, has his next hearing on this defense February 3rd, and we'll keep you posted on details as they come.
And these were raids that happened after the Bush administration, correct?
Yes, well into Obama's administration.
And so the reason he's using entrapment is, of course, because Eric Holder said there wasn't going to be any prosecutions against state medical marijuana.
Yeah, he did everything by the book as he was told to by law, and then they used that information to raid his clinic and then federally charge him. He had a firearm in his safe. I mean, why wouldn't you want to have a firearm when you're having a high-profile, high-value business like cannabis dispensary?
Yeah, just like jewelers do or anything else.
Yeah, and it's absolutely ridiculous to try and demonize the Second Amendment any further in those situations, just as much as it is in this.
Well, I think that hopefully it'll get thrown out of court if the guy's lucky, and if everyone else is lucky, that'll be the precedent that gets set. Hopefully he gets everything returned to him, because this is quite a blow to someone like that, to take out their whole business, stuff that they've invested in. Pretty much can ruin someone's life, and these enforcement officers often take that thing very lightly, I think.
Yeah, and he's not even medicating anymore with THC. He's using the Marinol synthetic pill now until he gets this all wrapped up with.
Well, our next story comes from the Sacramento Bee, which is discussing a new website which has been launched by California Watch. California Watch is a investigative journalism team which has been doing investigations into various things that have been going on in the state of California, including campaign donations, local employment, state wildfires, stimulus grants, census. They do all kinds of data reports and other things. And they have just launched a new website, which we will probably be reporting from, giving out their newest reports from our episodes here every time we put a new one out. So you can be looking forward to that.
We have a couple of California Watch stories for you today, and the first one is entitled, Politicians Rely on County Parties to Funnel Contributions, Avoid Campaign Limits. The story is by Chase Davis. California Watch analysis showed that millions of dollars in donations sources have been hidden. This money flows from distant sources through such as central committees for like Democratic Party or Republican Party or other interest groups such as state unions and things of that nature. And that this money is sent from there to faraway places and used to influence these elections at pivotal moments. Such as, for example, locally, we have the Democratic County Committee in Humboldt sent to San Diego counties $300,000 in one day. And then they proceeded to make large contributions to high-profile Democratic Assembly and Senate races at different times in the days leading up to election. And that's just one example. The article goes through and has a multitude of other examples of the same thing happening in different sources throughout the state. And Common Cause, their regional director, Derek Cressman, says flat out, I'd call it money laundering.
Yeah, it pretty much is. I'd say they can get out more money than any normal individual would be allowed to donate through going through these backed organizations, basically.
Yeah, so it's just a loophole, and they're
it's like the tax-free foundations for the super rich.
Yeah, and they're exploiting it to no avail.
Sure. Well, the last article that we wanted to come out with from California Watch is entitled Homeland Security Marked by Waste and Lack of Oversight. Now, this is a look into the way that Homeland Security grant money has been spent in California. And it's been used, obviously, for some good things, and it's obviously been wasted in other accounts. Some of the key things we wanted to go over that was wasted on include about $15 million of questionable money spent on things like big screen TVs and Monte Carlo cars, all these kinds of ridiculous buys. They also have all sorts of documentation problems. They haven't been filling out any of the proper invoices or any of the tax statements properly or any of the grant forms. So a lot of this money, really, no one knows where it is, what happened to it. And it's really just another example of how the large federal bureaucracies only, increase corruption and increase the opportunity for it with more money and more power positions.
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous. So it's like, are we made any safer by, expending, just aimlessly giving out like millions and millions and millions of dollars and not even making sure that it's leading to safety?
And not addressing the real causes of why there is a Homeland Security Department in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally ridiculous as well, because there's like, 100 Al-Qaeda, and so we're spending tens of millions of dollars per fighter. They did a study. That's how many Al-Qaeda are in Afghanistan. And our final state news story is about a TSA agent, Transportation Security Authority, agent that was arrested at LAX. He reportedly was wandering around, acting erratically, and saying, "I am God, I am in charge," which is really, really absolutely outrageous, because these people suffer from this kind of complex, what would be called the Lucifer effect. I think it was Philip Zimbardo, and they have complete power and domination over you when you go through their little realm. Apparently there's another report too of a TSA after hours party that there was heavy drug use at, and so they tested those employees and they found that one of them tested positive for an undisclosed substance and that he was fired.